Hey game players, GamerDad here for Gamescape Network, and this is the first Magic the Gathering Decktech that we're going to be doing, and this is my Controllish Eldrazi deck. So when I traded in my Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, I managed to get a couple of cards called Ulamog, and I thought I need to build a deck around him, but he costs a lot, so I figured I needed to ramp up. So I went and I collected some cards, and lo and behold, this deck got put together. Now I do want to do a shout out to Stone Lane, I think it's 1852 at YouTube, or anyway, Lex Marzane, I believe his name is. I kind of used his Eldrazi ramp deck for the base, but I couldn't afford and get all the cards that I needed, so I had to change it up a little bit, and it's actually become a much different deck than the one that he envisioned, than the one that he posted on YouTube. But I've done 2 Friday Night Magics. I was 3-0 the first one, and 2-1 the second one with this deck. And it is a really, really good deck. So I'm just going to show it to you. So we start off with, we got 1, trying to keep the glare out of it, 3, 4 Elvish Visionaries. Basically it's a 2-drop, 1/1, and you draw a card. Just help you get to your pieces, and I just felt this deck needed a chump blocker that you didn't mind losing, and it's working out really good. The card draw is great too. And then we have 3 Beastcaller Savants, only because I only have 3. If I could find another one, I'd play him. But 1 mana to any pool, as long as you cast a creature card with it. It's really good. Then the next card, we have 4 Herald of Kozilek. It's 3 for a 2/4. It's a colorless. It's got Devoid, and I really do like the Devoid mechanic. It lends itself to control, I believe. Excuse me. A lot of the Devoid cards are controllish with their effects, and this one, colorless spells you cast cost 1 less. So if you have multiple on board, just makes things a lot cheaper. Because like I said, most of the deck is really expensive mana wise, but it's also really powerful, and that's why we run 3 Surrak the Hunt Caller. He's a 5/4 with Formidable at the beginning of your turn. If creatures you control have total power 8 or greater, target creature you control gains haste until end of turn. Him and Ulamog, incredible. Him and just about any of your big guys makes him great. Unfortunately, you can only control 1. That's fine. 3, I'm probably going to drop it down to 2. But I am missing a couple cards to replace him with, but for right now 3 is working good. And that's it with your green monsters, with your non-Eldrazi creatures. And then we have, next up we have Oblivion Sower. I absolutely love this card. I might actually bump it up to 3. Yes, it costs 6 mana, but with your Herald of Kozilek, it only costs 5, and basically what it does is you cast it, and even if it gets countered, it doesn't matter. Your opponent exiles the top 4 cards of his deck, and you get to put into play any lands from among them. So he is not only a 5/8 for 6, but he basically just screws up your opponent big time. He's just so good. I love playing him, and if you can play more than 1 of him in the same game, he's great. I only have 2, or I'd probably run more, but there's nothing in the world like grabbing an opponent's fetch lands with him, especially when they share color for you. But Oblivion Sower, this isn't the card that wins you the game, but it's still probably the MVP in my opinion. I love him. And then we have 1, 2, 3 Conduit of Ruin. Basically, when you play him, even if he's countered, you search your deck for a colorless creature spell. Creature spell with converted mana cost 7 or greater. He basically tutors your Ulamog, and then when he's in play, the first creature spell you cast each turn costs 2 less. So him alone puts Ulamog down to 8. And then if you have a Kozilek on board, Herald of Kozilek, you get Ulamog for 7. So that's just really good. And then I keep mentioning him. 2 Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger. If you don't know what he does, then you've not played against him. This is basically the I cast this, you scoop phase. But he is a 10/10 for 10. When you cast him, you target 2 permanents your opponent controls and exile him right off the bat. Even if he's countered, he's like removal. He's indestructible. And when he attacks, your opponent exiles the top 20 cards of his or her library. Most of the time, if your opponent cannot get around him, it's Ulamog, scoop. In a way, I hate the card because I prefer the back and forth matches, but in the deck, it's pretty much Ulamog.deck. You can win without him, but I mean, he kicks ass. I still like Oblivion Sower better, only because you could use Oblivion Sower in other decks, but he's just too good. He's the main focus of the deck. Now, thanks to Stone Lane, Dragonlord Atarka, I'd like to get one more of him, but I only have one. Flying, trample, and deal 5 damage to any number of creatures or planeswalkers your opponent control. This deck does not have much removal outside of Ulamog, and he just helps get over things. He's an 8/8 flying, trample. He's just awesome. And then another card I'd like to put in. I just got one after the tournament, so I'm not putting it in the deck profile because I didn't use it in the deck. But Sarkhan Unbroken. You're never going to use his -8, so you don't have to worry about him dying. His -2 gives you a 4/4 flying token, flying dragon token, which in itself can be very, very helpful. And his +1, you draw a card and you add a mana of any color. So you're going to it helps get through your deck. It gives you defense if you need it. It gives you cards and mana. So you can draw, let's say, I don't know, you use his +1 to draw Ulamog. Now you only need 9 more mana. I mean, that sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. And that's it with the monsters and planeswalkers. Like I said, I'm going to add one more to him. I already have it, but I don't know what I'm going to take out. Probably the Surrak. One Surrak anyway, inside the third one. Because as cool as he is, you need to combo him with Ulamog, pretty much. But there's other plays, but for the most part, you want Surrak when you have Ulamog. You want Surrak and then Ulamog. I don't know. Or any one of your Eldrazi's, really. But to be honest, every time I had him in my hand, I had so much advantage that even when I did cast him, it didn't matter. So, on to some other, your search ability. You want to get to your pieces quick, like any deck. But we have one Artificer's Epiphany, draw 2. If you don't control an artifact, discard a card. I could probably take him out if I wanted to, but it's come in handy. And I do have one artifact that somehow I always draw. It's kind of weird. And then we have 2 Treasure Crudes, which has Delve. So, I mean, you got insane amounts of mana in this deck, considering the fact that we're not using any of the spells to get to your mana ramp. So you can actually cast this a lot of times without delving, but most of the times you'll have cards in there into your graveyard. For instance, Anticipate is really good. Look at the top 3 and hope you only have one good one that you want. But you're just stacking the deck. You're searching for things that you need. That's really good. And then I have this one in there, and I never did get to use it, but Villainous Wealth. Your target opponent exiles the top X cards of his or her library, and you cast any number of non-land cards with converted mana cost X or less from among them without paying their mana cost. This is a one-of that I never did get to use, but late game, you have all these colors. You have so much mana that if your opponent's tapped out or your opponent's not playing counters, very, very easy to bring this number up. So I figure, why not? It's a one-of. Now, if I do get another Atarka, I'll probably take that out, because I never, ever actually used that. But it's still one of those cards that I just like. Next up, we have 2 Rolling Thunder. Depending on your opponent, you side 2 more, or at least I do. And basically, early game is when you're most susceptible. This kind of helps you get rid of small threats. A lot of people say Creator's Claw is better, but you can kill multiple creatures with this, or one. It depends. It just gives you more options. Yes, it's 1 more red to cast, but it's just one of those. I like it. There's really no other removal in this deck except for Ulamog. So having something that can destroy some stuff and get threats off the board, that's good. I like it. Now, for the mini control engine, we've got 1, 2, 3 spell shrivels with Kozilek on board. If you have 2, you get this down to play for just 1 blue, and it counters a spell unless they pay 4, which then, of course, locks them out of their plays. And a lot of times, early game especially, they just don't have the 4 to cast it. Plus, it exiles it, so for all those decks that actually utilize the graveyard, this is really good. Side 1 more, just in case. And other more control in the side, but in the main, that's what I use. And then Clash of Wills, you have the mana, so why not? But I just like Spell Shrivel more. I don't know why, but Clash of Wills, most of the time, you either don't have the mana to bump the X up too much, or you just, your opponent has the 4 mana. So that's it on the main deck, or non-lands. Your land base, 2 cards that I consider part of the land, but Hedron Archive, cast 4, it's your artifact, so your Artificers, whatever spell that was, you draw 2 cards, and if this is on board, you don't have to discard anything. But it lets you add 2 to your mana pool, and you can pay 2, tap it, sacrifice it to draw 2 cards. It's just one of those utility cards. Most of the time, I don't even get the 2 cards, but most of the time it's just a mana source. But it's still a really good one. And like I said, I consider it a mana source, so that's where it's at. Shrine of the Forsaken Gods. You add 1 to your mana pool, you tap it, or you can add 2 to your mana pool if you have 7 or more lands, and you could use it only for colorless spells, which is why we have the Spell Strikers over the Clash of Wills. But it helps to get your big guys out, so it stays, but only at 1. Then for the rest of the mana, we have 1 shiny, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 forests, 6 basic forests, 1, 2, 3, 4 basic islands, 1, 2, 3 mountain, That's your basic lands. Then you have Frontier, Bivouac, whatever the hell that is. You got the Frontier. It's green, blue, or red to your mana pool. Yes, it comes in tapped. Oh well. You could probably bump this up some more, but I don't know. I wanted some other stuff in there. Then you have 2 Shivan Reefs, which just helps you with your blue. It fits the color, and you might have to pay a damage to get that, but you don't always have to. But sometimes it just comes in handy. Then 2 of the Yavimaya Coast, 2 Cinder Glades. I really like that card. Doesn't do any damage to you, and we got plenty of basic lands. No fetch lands. I'm poor, so no fetch lands. But then the last 2, and this is for there was, I think, a Murderous Cut or some black spell that I wanted to put in other than the draw spell, whatever that was. I forget. The Villainous Wealth or Virtuous Wealth. What is that? I'm sorry. Villainous Wealth. I wanted black, so I had that, so I put it in. And the Bloodfell Caves. That just rounds out your red. Most of the time it's red, but you could use it for black. So that's 24 lands with the Hedron Archives. And that is pretty much the Eldrazi ramp deck, or Ulamog deck as I call it. That's basically what it is. Let me show you off a little bit of the side deck I had, which I hardly used at all. Negate, Clash of Wills, and then Horribly Awry, 2 of them. It only does the creature spell with converted mana cost 4 or less. So it's not great, but depending on what your opponent's playing, it might be better to just throw it in, but they'll probably just throw it away because it's really not that good. But with Herald of Kozilek, you can get it for just 1 blue. Not a big deal. My nephew had these, so I threw them in. 2 Hangerback Walkers. A lot of people would say that you should main them, but I don't know. I don't normally have it, just my nephew left it, so I took it. And usually game 2, if I think that my opponent's got something, or game 3, I might throw them in, just because, force him to banish him or exile him instead of Ulamog. The 2 Rolling Thunder, and then Void Winnower. Your opponent can't cast spells with even converted mana costs, and your opponent can't block with creatures with even converted mana costs. It basically shuts down some decks, but I don't know. He's probably going to come out. 9 for an 11/9. That's really not bad. I mean, it's not great, but it's not bad. But I've never actually put him in, because I always forget to actually count the mana conversion and all that. And then here's my other Sarkhan, which I'm going to put in, find a spot for him. And that is it with that deck. So, I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any comments, rate, like, and subscribe. And check out Stone Lane 1852, I believe it is. He's got some interesting takes on some decks. We're actually kind of been working together, sort of on a mill deck using Sphinx's tutelage. Interesting, very interesting. I wouldn't say we're working together, but we've been in contact with each other over it. I've got that deck too. I'm not having the success that he's had, so I'm gonna have to put together my own, and that'll probably be the next deck tech. But it's gonna be a while because, like I said, I'm a broke person. But anyway, again, if you liked it, rate, comment, subscribe, and like I said in an earlier video, I'm gonna stick with Magic for a while. But Yu-Gi-Oh is not dead to me. It's just kind of on the back burner for right now. Just need a break, something different. And thanks to Ulamog.deck, I'm actually having fun with Magic right now. But that's it, and I'll catch you later. Keep playing.